Nobody is talking about this, and that's exactly how the Indiana Fever won it. While the entire media landscape spent the last 48 hours exploding over Angel Reese being shipped to Atlanta, while every podcast and analyst debated whether the Chicago Sky just made a massive mistake, and while comment sections across the internet burned with arguments about trades, drama, and dysfunction, Caitlin Clark stayed completely silent. She wasn't feeding into the chaos, wasn't reacting publicly. She was watching, calculating, waiting, and then out of nowhere, she did something nobody expected. She tweeted about something simple: cookies, specifically chocolate chip cookies at Wrigley Field. And somehow, in that one casual moment, she accomplished what no blockbuster trade, no press conference, and no front office move could ever pull off. She captured the attention of the entire city of Chicago without even stepping onto a basketball court. That single move shifted the narrative, flipped the spotlight, and reminded everyone just how powerful her presence really is. This changes everything, and I'm about to break down exactly why. What's up,
And let's see what happens, okay? We got to keep all our notifications on. We got to make sure we're aware of what's going on out here, okay? Atlanta Smith, I believe, has real interest in joining the Indiana Fever, especially.
I need you to rewind the clock to Monday morning, April 6th, 2026, when the WNBA offseason officially kicked off and chaos hit immediately. The Chicago Sky made a shocking move, trading Angel Reese, a two-time All-Star, the face of the franchise, and one of the most polarizing figures in women's basketball, to the Atlanta Dream. Just like that, she was gone, reportedly for 2 first-round picks that may not even crack the top tier. The reaction was instant and brutal. Analysts slammed the move, fans were furious, former players questioned everything, and the entire basketball world kept asking the same thing: what is Chicago doing? And right in the middle of all that chaos, at the exact moment when the city was at its lowest and Sky fans were still processing the loss of their biggest star, Caitlin Clark quietly stepped in, not with a press conference, not with a bold statement, but with a simple tweet. The Chicago Cubs had posted about their 150th anniversary cookie challenge at Wrigley Field, inviting fans to submit recipes, and Clark, being a lifelong Cubs fan, quote, tweeted it with just 5 words: "Would love to be the taste tester." That was it. No drama, no agenda on the surface. But what happened next was anything but small. The Cubs immediately responded. Fans exploded with excitement, and social media lit up with reactions. Some joked that the Sky had just cleared a roster spot for her. Others said she might as well suit up for the Cubs too. But the key detail is this: Clark started trending across Chicago. Not the trade, not Reese, not the Sky, Clark. On the very day the city lost its biggest WNBA star, the spotlight shifted completely. Now really think about that, because this wasn't just a harmless tweet about cookies. This was a masterclass in influence. Clark didn't recruit anyone, didn't make calls, didn't sign deals. She typed 5 casual words and took over the conversation in a city that isn't even hers. That's not just popularity, that's gravitational pull. She has the kind of presence that bends the entire sports conversation toward her without effort. And the timing? That wasn't accidental. Clark understands the media landscape better than almost anyone. She knew the Reese trade was dominating headlines, she knew Chicago fans were emotional, and she stepped in with something light, relatable, and impossible to dislike. No trash talk, no controversy, just cookies. And somehow that made an even louder statement. While everyone else is busy breaking down trades and free agency moves, they're missing the bigger picture. They're not connecting how moments like this reflect something deeper, how Clark's cultural influence ties directly into the Indiana Fever and what they're building. Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about control of the narrative, control of attention, and ultimately control of the league spotlight. And right now, whether people realize it or not, that spotlight is exactly where Indiana wants it to be.
Foreseeable future.
I'm sure, given what you've done the last couple of years, everyone will want you on their team. So again, a bit like Andy with college, is it you deciding where you want to go at this point?
Yeah, I think I'm really lucky in that I'm at a point in my career.
Here's what the rest of the media is completely overlooking, and it's the most important piece of the entire conversation. The influence of Caitlin Clark is not separate from the Indiana Fever roster building strategy. It is the strategy. Every single move Indiana has made this offseason is being driven by the gravitational pull that Clark creates. And once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. Take Kelsey Mitchell, for example. She had every opportunity to test the open market, explore more offers and potentially leave. But instead, she chose to stay in Indiana on a core qualifying offer. Why? Because she wants to play alongside Clark. Both players made that clear publicly, and when Clark goes on national television and calls you her running mate, that's not something you walk away from. That's something you commit to. Mitchell locking in a $1.4 million Supermax deal isn't just a contract decision, it's a direct result of the Clark effect in action. The same logic applies to Lexi Hull, who, despite being a restricted free agent with the option to explore other opportunities, is widely expected to stay. She played every single game last season and witnessed firsthand what this team looks like when Clark is on the floor, even in a limited sample of just 13 games. She saw the 16.5 points, the 8.8 assists, and more importantly, the way Clark creates opportunities for everyone around her. Wide open shots, better spacing, easier scoring chances. That kind of impact is impossible to ignore, and players don't walk away from situations that elevate their game like that. Hull staying isn't just likely, it feels inevitable. Another clear example of how Clark's presence is shaping the roster without force, just influence. Then there's Sophie Cunningham, whose connection with Clark goes far beyond basketball and into something deeper: loyalty, trust, and identity. Cunningham became Clark's enforcer, her protector, the teammate who set the tone physically and emotionally, even going as far as sacrificing her own body in defense of her teammate in high-profile moments that went viral across the league. That visibility didn't just boost her reputation, it transformed her into one of the most recognized players in the WNBA, largely because of her connection to Clark. Walking away from that kind of platform, that kind of chemistry, and that kind of spotlight doesn't make sense. And that's why her return feels like a matter of when, not if. Again, on the Clark effect at work. But the biggest shift, and the part nobody is really talking about, is what's happening off the court. Players around the league are watching everything Clark does, from sold-out arenas to skyrocketing merchandise sales to unmatched social media engagement. They're seeing a player who can dominate headlines with something as simple as a tweet and generate more attention than major trades. And that level of influence is changing how free agents think. When players like Azura Stevens engage with Fever fans online or casually hint at interest in Indiana, it's not about the city itself. It's about the opportunity that comes with playing alongside Clark. It means visibility, relevance, brand growth, and a real shot at competing for a championship. That's the real Clark effect. It turns Indiana into a destination. And that's why this offseason changes everything, because while other teams are offering contracts and money, the Fever are offering something much bigger, a chance to be part of something powerful, something visible, and something that feels like destiny.
Into Indiana's rotation seamlessly while providing size and shoring up the defense with her rim protection, finally bringing the ideal complement of traits they've needed at the 4 spot. Natasha Howard was a bad fit, y'all. I'm sorry, she just was a bad fit. Smith recorded 1.9 blocks, so nearly 2 blocks a game last season while shooting 33% on 4 3 attempts per game. Pairing her with Aaliyah Boston would give the Fever a front court duo that will both be a menace defensively and versatile offensively. Of course,
I'm about to say something, and I want every single person watching this to remember it. Bookmark it, screenshot it, write it down wherever you need to, because in 6 months, when the Indiana Fever are holding up the championship trophy, you're going to look back and realize this was called early. This team isn't just building for the playoffs, and they're not just putting together a contender. They're building a dynasty, and the foundation of that dynasty wasn't laid with a trade or a signing. It started with something as simple as a tweet about chocolate chip cookies. That moment told you everything you need to know about Caitlin Clark and the level she operates on, because this is a player who can dominate the entire news cycle without even stepping on the court, who can take over a major sports city with just a few words. And who can shift the attention of an entire league simply by being herself. That's not normal influence. That's something bigger, something that goes beyond basketball. And it's exactly why everything happening around Indiana right now feels different. What people don't realize is that moments like that aren't random. They define eras. The headlines about Angel Reese will eventually fade. The noise around other teams will settle, and the chaos of free agency will pass. But what will remain is the reality that one player has completely changed how a franchise builds toward a championship. This isn't about money, desperate trades, or short-term moves. It's about gravity. Everything in this league is starting to orbit around Clark. The players, the fans, the media attention, the business side, and eventually the championships themselves. It's only a matter of time before that influence fully translates into dominance on the court. And when you look at the core, Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, Aaliyah Boston, and Lexi Hull, you're not just looking at a lineup, you're looking at the start of something much bigger than a team. This isn't a roster, it's a movement, and movements don't slow down, they don't wait, and they don't ask for permission, they take over. And that's exactly what feels like it's coming next. When the Fever step onto the court against the Dallas Wings at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, it won't just be another game, it'll be the moment the rest of the WNBA realizes what Indiana already knows. This era belongs to Caitlin Clark. This is her league now, and everyone else is trying to keep up. And the scariest part? She doesn't even need to talk about basketball to remind everyone of that. Sometimes all it takes is a simple tweet about cookies. That's it for today. If this fired you up, smash that like button, drop your boldest take in the comments, and let's turn that comment section into a battlefield. Subscribe, hit the bell, and don't miss what comes next.